2022 is the year of the scammer. Hello and welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Santhani. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. Today I want to talk about the newest scammer Netflix documentary, and that is Bad Vegan. Every few weeks there is a new scammer documentary on Netflix to obsess over. I've been honestly addicted to them. I'm not gonna lie. I am guilty myself of being hooked on these. I think this is a new murder true crime because we discovered true crime is unethical. So now we're like, white collar crimes are less gross. So later on in the video, I'll discuss other scammer content I've watched that I found interesting, or which ones are good to watch or skip. But I just wanted to kind of casually talk to y'all about Bad Vegan. I don't have super intense notes or anything. I've been kind of sick this week, so just kind of wanted to discuss. This is what I did for Tinder Swindler, and surprisingly it was fine. It was fun to not be so serious and research about a video. Maybe some people are gonna hate me for that, but let me just start with my usual section. Is Bad Vegan worth watching? Bad Vegan is a 4-part docu-series on Netflix. The title is a little misleading because it's not so centered around the vegan part. It feels like it's kind of sensationalizing the vegan part of all this, even though it's kind of like background. If you're wondering if like you won't be interested because of the vegan thing, or would be, that doesn't matter. If you're interested in scammer docs, it's definitely interesting. It's also kind of skippable in my opinion. Like it's kind of confusing at times, and also the main victim is a little bit it's hard. It's hard for her to feel completely innocent in everything that went down compared to other scam stories I've seen where I could understand the victim a little more. It feels kind of like it's unsatisfying at the end. It's not it's kind of long for what the story is, which is a big complaint I always have. I hate things being unnecessarily long series. Usually I'm like the only one saying that because I'm very like, but for this one in particular, I've noticed a lot of people say that it should have been shorter. Not just me this time. Take what you will out of that. It's kind of in the middle for me if I recommend it or not. You might lose interest. You might not like the the characters in it, I guess. So let me talk about Bad Vegan. Like I said, it's a 4-part docuseries on Netflix, each episode around an hour long. The docuseries is actually called Bad Vegan: Fame, Fraud, and Fugitives. The director is Chris Smith, who I believe also did the Firefest documentary, though I'm not sure which one because there were like 3 of them. I assume he did the Netflix Firefest one if he's working for Netflix again. The show centers this vegan restaurateur named Sarma Girl, I can't say this last name. Sarma Melangalis, who illegally transferred money to her husband so he could pay a deity to bestow immortality upon them. Wikipedia really summarized it. So this vegan restaurateur lady, she was the owner of a restaurant called Pure Food and Wine and One Lucky Duck, 2 different restaurants that were raw vegan in the early 2010s, so when that movement was very early. So it became this big celebrity and rich people hotspot because it was the new frontier of like healthy and raw vegan diets. It sounds all very like celebrity bait, basically. So this woman essentially got scammed by a man who ended up becoming her husband, but she feels like a little bit complicit. I don't know. There's something kind of weird about her. So let me just get into the summary of what happened and explain that deity part of, of all this. Sarma, she had been married before, but it didn't work out, and her and her former husband were co-owners of the restaurants. She actually got their main investor to help her buy him out of the restaurant so that she would be the sole owner. After this, she has some flirtatious relationship with Alec Baldwin, like the Alec Baldwin, who was a frequent customer of the restaurant. But he was married and she was in a relationship at the time, and it didn't work out. Eventually, Alec meets his new wife, Hilaria Baldwin. Shout out to Reddit for helping me like find out some extra tidbits about Bad Vegan and Sarma and this world. There's a very active subreddit for Hilaria Baldwin. I don't really know who Hilaria Baldwin is aside from being Alec Baldwin's wife. Maybe she is famous in her own right. So anyway, Sarma knew Alec Baldwin. So at some point she saw there was this guy that would reply to Alec Baldwin's tweets, like literally on Twitter, and Alec would reply back, and it was like funny banter in Alec Baldwin's Twitter replies. From there, she started talking to him and playing words with friends with him. This is the scammer, by the way. And started having a online relationship with him. Eventually met him in person, where he was definitely looking different from his photos, but she brushed it off and they started a romance, and he kind of romanced her. They were like house hunting, super like millions and millions of dollar homes, shopping for Tiffany's jewelry, things like that. But just like browsing, like no actual purchases happened. This man was named Anthony Stranges, but the name he gave to Sarma was Shane Fox. So she was having a relationship with a guy not even knowing his real name. So throughout the relationship, he started asking her for money frequently, and like thousands of dollars, and she would give it to him, starting out small and then getting bigger and bigger. It started to get weird because it seemed like Anthony Stranges, the scammer, started talking about kind of more mystical things, saying there was this deity, I guess, Wikipedia said it, there was a deity that was testing Sarma, and these tests were for her to wire thousands of dollars to him. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh like that. It just got very like spiritual, the con of it all. He promised her that they would have this happily ever after in like some mystical utopia, and that her dog would live forever, because she was of course obsessed with her dog. I say of course because she's vegan, I don't know. He was kind of promising this vague, ethereal end place where she could leave reality, and he like hinted that he was some sort of mystical being, and talking about like his human body as a meat suit. And
what is the meat suit?
The craziest part was like him saying he was overweight because God was testing her to be like repulsed by him. It was another test. It was just like everything was a test, and there was no kind of end in sight for all the tests. What gets weird to me is that she let years go by. The entirety of their relationship was like 4.5 or 5 years. She was strung along so long about all of these mystical things with no proof. Like, I feel like at least Tinder Swindler and other kind of scammers I've seen really sell it at the beginning to make you not question them. And it felt like this guy never really, like, he didn't have to put in that much effort into the scam or the story. Like, she was just kind of doing what he said without stopping. This guy was really sloppy as a scammer, and all he was doing with the money she kept wiring him was gambling at casinos. Am I respecting the Tinder Swindler now? I don't know, but like he did this extravagant plane trip and shopping and dinners, built it all up, actually spent some money on the girl before doing all the stupid stuff to make it seem real. This guy, Anthony, just said vague mystical stuff, and she would just wire him more thousands of dollars. So ultimately she gave him, I think, $1.7 million. That is a shit ton of money. That's probably the most I've seen in all of these scammer docs. And where did the money come from? Literally her restaurants. He was taking money out of the fully out of the restaurants, to the point where they were not able to pay wages to the employees of the restaurants, which led to an employee walkout, and the restaurant closed down for 3 months, which I think was so dumb, because it's like he was already profiting a lot by her wiring him like the profits, like just the profits of the businesses, which was like kind of her cut. He got greedy and just took it all, and the restaurant ended up having to close. Like, it just feels silly to me to like run the restaurant into the ground, which is your income source and a reliable income source. Keep it afloat to keep your scam going. Anyway, I don't know. So much of the story didn't make that much sense. There seemed to be a lot of gaps, and I've noticed on Reddit a lot of the discussions I saw, it seems like almost everybody feels like there's something fishy about Sarma and how she is not taking any accountability, because once she started withholding the wages from the employees, that's when it got really bad on her part. Like, she was really complicit. The guy was emotionally and physically abusive in certain ways, yet she like just didn't stop giving him the money. He just kept saying, oh, it's another test from God, essentially. Girl, at a certain point, like, you're affecting, like, I don't know how many employees, but like at least 50 or so people, I would think, between two restaurants. So she's affecting a lot of people. So like, once you as the victim start affecting lots of other people, then it becomes like you're kind of also scamming and you're also a scammer at this point. I just feel like throughout the documentary, Sarma, it feels like she has her case very thought out and built out for like making herself look as much of the victim as possible, which she is a victim. It's just she also was complicit, and throughout the documentary she just never took accountability. What she did to the employees, to her family, to investors. She defrauded investors because she kept asking for more investments into the restaurant and just giving that money to Anthony. They did actually get married early on in their relationship. I think they had known each other a year when they got married. Anthony had promised that he could pay off her $2 million debt to her main investor, tax-free, if they were married. Ultimately, she pled guilty to some fraud and grand larceny, whatever grand larceny means. Let's look it up, actually, because we want to learn, right? And based on me Googling this, it seems to be just a fancy word for theft. Thefts that are considered more serious because of the value of property stolen is over $1,000. So it's like stealing over $1,000 worth. That's interesting. Just say thief. She pled guilty to some of those charges and only got 4 months at Rikers Island. It's in New York, and I think it's also where Anna Sorokin of the Anna Delvey Inventing Anna. That's the only place I've seen it on the Shonda Rhimes show. She went to prison for 4 months and then got probation afterwards. Anthony had already gone to prison before for impersonating police. He had told her his job was literally like fighting demons, being a spy and black ops, but she never really knew details. He's not even like a great scammer to me. Like, he just kind of got lucky with someone that like didn't question it. And that's what's fishy about the whole thing, because Sarma just didn't question things, and to the point of like being ignorant on purpose. There's something going on, but you don't hear about it. You don't hear about it, so you don't know. You're not guilty. It felt like that. It felt like a ignorance on purpose rather than like him playing off of her naivety. People's main theories, which it seems to be the thing with all of these scammer docs, is accusing the victim of being greedy, and that's what gets them in the scam. People are saying Sarma was just greedy. She married Anthony because he was going to pay off her debt, and because she thought he was rich, and because he was promising like money would be no object in the future, and that her greed for wanting an easy out to her debt, that was her driving motivation. I don't know. I mean, I guess people are quick to jump on these victims for being greedy, but I don't see greediness as like that bad of a thing. I don't know. Yeah, my moral. Money is such a big thing for having a comfortable life and a happy life. As much as rich people say, money doesn't buy happiness, but it's like a certain threshold definitely does. So many people, especially now, don't have enough of a threshold of money to be happy or be comfortable. She was definitely privileged. She came from a rich family. I'm not saying she's one of those people that was like poor or something, but I kind of don't blame people for being greedy to an extent. But I do agree that there is something more to Sarma, that the documentary was kind of biased, portraying her positively. So it's hard. In my Tinder swindler video, I got comments about like, oh, the women were just greedy and they got caught up in their greed of wanting a rich boyfriend. And it's like, I mean, If I had a rich boyfriend in front of me, I wouldn't say no to it. I mean, if I liked the guy, there's levels to it where it's like you're only prioritizing that. But if you're getting a fair exchange, then cool, I guess. Well, this is complex and weird, and I don't really have that much experience with dating rich people or being rich myself. And that's why scammer docs are so interesting, because it's like, if a scammer asked me for $50K, I'd be like, good luck. I literally am not worth $50K. Like, sorry, next. These scammers just find people with thousands and millions, apparently, of dollars to just give without a contract or receipt or any result from it. It's very odd. And I can't imagine being in that spot where I literally even had $50K or $70K to give to somebody. So I'd love to hear what y'all think about if you see Sarma as a big victim in like a cult way, because it seems towards the end she recognizes she feels most linked to like cult victims, even though she was like cult of one. There was no like legitimacy building that the scammer had to do, and every other scammer doc I've seen like has all this time and effort and detail by the scammer to make them believe they are legitimate, and it feels like this guy never had that moment. He just skipped straight to like coercing money out of her and her agreeing. Just something's afoot, and I don't know what it is. Oh, and so the big thing about how they got caught and the big headline, because Sarma was kind of in the New York socialite scene, brushing elbows with celebrities. She was known as like the vegan queen of New York. Let me pick up the story, I guess, before they actually got caught and went to jail and all that. Once they defrauded these investors, ran away with all of the employee wages, Sarma and Anthony ran away and just went on this road trip of casinos, because he was just going to casinos, and we're just staying in hotels, literally on the run from the police, the investors, the people they defrauded. And they were on the run for like 6 months before they were caught. And the way they were caught was Anthony ordered a Domino's pizza under his real name, and the cops were able to trace what hotel they were at and then lure him to the lobby, and that's how they ended up catching him. This made big headlines because it was like, vegan queen gets caught with a Domino's pizza, and every headline was like, vegan queen eats pizza and gets arrested. That was the hot headline because she was known as being vegan, and obviously cheese on pizza is not vegan. The stupid thing was, like, she clearly didn't eat the pizza. There was this cop on the documentary that said they had separate rooms and they were very different, and his had the pizza box like half eaten and nasty, and her room was cute and neat. She seems to have stayed vegan the entire time. So the whole pizza thing was kind of just clickbait to make a fun headline, or not fun, to make an interesting headline. The stupidest part is that in the documentary they criticize how the headlines all made it about the pizza, and then the fucking Netflix show is called Bad Vegan. It implies like she broke her veganness or something. I thought it was kind of hypocritical of the documentary to criticize the clickbait headlines and then still play into it for their own clickbait title. So who do y'all think is going to play Sarma in the fictional adaptation? My money is on Nicole Kidman, or if they're trying to go younger, maybe a Margot Robbie. Honestly, Gwyneth Paltrow gives me the most vibes, but I don't even know if she still acts at all. Maybe Amanda Seyfried will come back and do her too. She could do it too. Maybe Rachel McAdams. Lots of good options for the fictional adaptation. Also, something about the scammer is that he scammed her mom out of $400,000. That's what I'm saying, like, these rich people literally have $400,000. I didn't know you could have that much. I think that's why we kind of like scammer documentaries, because they target people that aren't like us. When you're watching murder documentaries and they're just targeting women, like women walking, women running, women in their homes, women in their beds. Not always women, but you know what I mean. Like, often it's just like regular women. You're like, fuck, I'm gonna get murdered tonight, I guess. With scammer ones, at least I'm like, you know what? I don't think a scammer is gonna find a small fish like me interesting or fruitful enough to even look at or take advantage of. So let me talk about some little Reddit tea I saw on the Hilaria Baldwin subreddit. A couple of things that weren't mentioned in the documentary that they're just kind of cheesemate. Honestly, I don't know what they mean. So back to Sarma's past. For some reason, the New York Post got access to a bunch of her texts and emails. I mean, she did give all her passwords to Anthony Stranges and his fake IT guy. Firstly, there was this old relationship with Louis C.K. potentially. There was one correspondence specifically that sounded like he had given her an STD. Very asshole-ish response by Louis C.K. Surprise, surprise. I'm gonna put articles down below. They never explicitly mentioned the STD, so that's alleged, of course. Sarma said to Louis C.K. that she was upset and freaked out, and Louis C.K. responded, "Hey, I understand you're upset. This kind of shit is tough. I never swore that I was clean. I told you I may or may not have given this to you. I'm sorry if I did. If you gave it to me, it's okay. We all share the current human bloodstream, which includes this kind of stuff. I should have worn a condom. You should have made me. We should have done a lot of things. We are human." Next, he said, "Our generation has this stuff. The next generation will be all inoculated and will have sex with electric glass penises and digital vaginas, and they'll get software viruses instead. It's part of life." That part is the incriminating part. It sounds like, yeah. He wonders whether anyone is clean nowadays. There's no good test for guys. Even condoms don't stop shit. That's total bullshit. Don't believe it. Apparently she had a little fling with Louis C.K. Sounds disgusting. Honestly, I kind of wonder, does she have like... I don't want to say it. She seems to gravitate towards like gross men. Like so far we got Louis C.K., we got Alec Baldwin, the scammer, Anthony. Next is a second piece of cheesemate. This one is more a little bit intertwined with the actual scam thing because she started having an affair with her attorney that was defending her after she got arrested for the scam stuff. And apparently this attorney was also El Chapo's attorney. Like El Chapo, the drug lord. Putting an article about that in the description as well. But look at the guy. The same type of guy. You see that? She has a type, and it is concerning. All of these men have gross-ass personalities. So the New York Post obtained text messages or emails between her and the attorney and how inappropriate. It was like X-rated texts. Jeffrey Lichman is the attorney. That was El Chapo's attorney too. The gag was he was married and had children at the time of the affair. She didn't ask him if he was for a while. Eventually she did ask him and he just said, "Oh, we've been separated." But they weren't. They asked the wife and she said they were never separated. So like she's just drawn to these men and it just feels like, girl, why? Like, there has to be some reason. They were texting dirty things. Like, should I even read them? I shouldn't read them. That's nasty. Okay, thinking some disgusting thoughts about you. She replied, "Is it bad that I'm glad you're thinking them?" So she was playing into it. She was down to, you know. He said at some point, "We need to do this soon. Would you still be able to stand me as your lawyer if I foul you?" I guess that means, you know. And she said, "I think so." And he's like, "Let's wait until after then." And she's like, "I'm not opposed to before." They're talking about before or after the trial, like if they should hook up before or after her trial. And they could not wait. Oh God, no, I can't read this. I can't do it. Here it is. That's it. They just have dirty text messages and it's kind of sus. I mean, it's definitely inappropriate. It's more on him that it's inappropriate. For sure. The article seems to have interviewed a couple lawyers and they were like, "This behavior was unprofessional." The lawyers have spoken. One lawyer said, "It's not good to mix sex with legal representation." Great expert quote. He also, apparently he divulged information about other clients of his. "The past year, I've gotten 3 insanely high settlements for consensual sex as sexual harassment." Falsely incriminating people, I guess, of sexual harassment. He made $2.9 million for a 24-year-old girl who had a consensual sexual relationship with her boss. Yikes. He spilled about El Chapo, said, "Is it bad that I'm hiring a belly dancer to be Chapo's daily visitor? he has no pretty women visiting him. I feel bad. Girl, so this guy is clearly scum, and Sarma is drawn to scummy guys. Like, so far, it's 4 for 4. Her first husband also was, like, not paying bills or not paying taxes or something, so, like, she's drawn to shady men, and that is a problem. I mean, for her. She's getting herself in trouble with these men and is complicit by, like, favoring them, or I don't know. So those are my thoughts on bad vegan fame, fraud, and fugitives. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Try to keep it respectful. I know people are quick to jump on either or. Just try to be respectful, even if you feel that Sarma wasn't being totally authentic in this. Oh, I forgot. I needed to recommend other scammer docs. Hold it. Tinder Swindler is one, and it's nice because it's just a movie. I think most people have seen that, though. There's an older one on Netflix called The Puppet Master that is a very elaborate scheme with, like, a lot of people, and it's in Britain, so it's more UK focused. That one was really fascinating, but also really scary and sad because it's still kind of ongoing, and you know if you've watched it. I think it's a few episodes long. I think it's 3 episodes long. One I haven't heard a lot of talk about is a series on HBO Max called Generation Hustle, which is super interesting. It's an anthology series of scammers. So it's kind of like if you need your fix of scammer documentaries, this is a great series. There's like 10 episodes. There's a lot of episodes, and each one is around 40 to 50 minutes long and covers a different scammer. Some people seem more like accidental scammers, and some are more like career con artists. So it kind of varies, and it's kind of more focused on younger people or like millennials / Gen Z scammers. So focusing on online and digital mediums for how they do their scams. That series contains 1 episode about WeWork and 1 episode about Anna Delvey, which I think this is the only documentary I've seen about Anna Delvey, Anna Sorokin, whatever her name is. That's how I started watching it, because I was like, I need some documentary on Anna Delvey because I don't know what the heck. But I ended up watching all of them because I couldn't get enough scammer content, and there was a lot of episodes. You don't get tired of the same story every time. You get a new one. I think one of my favorite ones of those was, there was this one about this guy that's like a TikTok rapper, and he raps like tutorials about how to scam. And he's like an influencer, but also the scammer. It's wild. I recommend Generation Hustle if you like this type of content. It'll be right up your alley. Those are my little recommendations if you're looking for more content. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos twice a week about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.